bring back in my think tank. All right, what does this tell you? The fact that these stories are not the same, well, that they're slightly different each time.
You know, in my core, I believe that the truth never changes. The truth always stays the same. So, given that, if you're not telling the truth, then it's going to give way to there being some inconsistencies.
Totally agree with you. The truth, you don't have to make it up. The truth stays the truth. No matter how many times you tell the story, it's going to be the same. It's going to be consistent. The only thing that we have here, we have another thing at play, is that his level of sobriety is at question. We don't know how drunk he was. Could he have been so drunk that he blacked out? You know, I don't know. Could that be the case? And he doesn't really remember all the details, and he's trying to play it over in his mind. And every time he plays it over in his mind, it's a different version of what happened.
Could he be telling the truth here?
Sure, he could be telling the truth. And Detective Barlow, I think his testimony is rehearsed. That's typical police speak. Didn't make eye contact, and he gave me a rehearsed statement. If it was just a regular statement, according to Barlow, then he'd have another answer. Said he didn't know what he was talking about, couldn't remember. I think he's not telling the truth. The detective wants to have it both ways. So is it rehearsed? Is it not rehearsed? Either way, they're going to make him look bad. If it was rehearsed, then I guess maybe it would be more coherent together. And to your point, if he was intoxicated, it's not crazy that his story's evolved. I mean, he may have remembered certain things, and in the heat of the moment, you're excited, you want to tell your story to the police, then you remember something later on. Maybe he looked at his phone, then remembered something else. I mean, that's not unusual. That's how the memory works.
So how does the defense explain that to the jury? Because this is really part of the heart of the prosecution case, is that he can't keep his story straight. How do you explain it?
I think exactly the way Lawrence just said. Saying that basically he, maybe as a result of seeing his wife in that condition, he didn't have much to say. The amygdala takes over. We've got fight, or freeze. Maybe he was in freeze at that point. Maybe that's why the story is evolving.
What do you think? What do you really think is going on here with him?
I think it was his intoxication. I think he was inebriated to the extent that he's remembering certain parts of the story that seem to fit for him. And so that works for him, and that's what he's telling the individuals that he's giving these stories to.
So at the end, prosecutor comes back, redirects 6 months to pick up the ashes. But let's start with the defense attorney, and he does this. He's really good at it, but he makes everyone look like they don't know what they're doing, that they're unqualified for whatever their job is. Is there any danger at some point that, hey, not everybody in the state of South Carolina is unqualified to do what they're doing, who happens to be testifying for the state?
Well, Andy Savage, my understanding, is a great lawyer in South Carolina, and he has a lot of experience. So I'm confident he knows what he's doing, and he knows what his theory of the case is. So he's trying to make inroads with each witness. Yeah, you don't want the jury to be upset that every single person in South Carolina is dishonest and disingenuous, but he's making points and trying to score points so he can tie it all together and present it to the jury later on.
And how about the 6 months to pick up the ashes? That's one of those little facts. It doesn't prove anything, but it doesn't make him look like a loving husband who has lost his wife.
It's problematic. We generally believe that, of course, we want to go and pick up the ashes, and we want to take care of our loved ones and follow through on any last wishes that they have. But at the same time, it's hard to read into that. People react very differently to death.
How about no funeral either? No memorial. There's kids. She's got a child. He's got a child. They have this blended family, yet nothing.
Actually, I was going to say that feeds into the suicide theory, because a lot of people who die by suicide, there's usually a lot of times nothing, and the family's so disturbed by it, they don't want to invite people, and they just end up doing what happened without a service, because everyone is in shock and grieving.
We'll see what the jury says about it. I mean, it's very possible. I mean, these are some strange facts in this case, and prosecutors, again, don't have a slam dunk here, folks. It's not. Trust me.